A couple years back, my boyfriend and I were driving in the country back roads of central Illinois. It was about 9 p.m., cold and rainy, mid-October, large wooded areas all around. We were in mid-conversation when we both cut off at the same time, and we were overcome with dread. To the right of the road was a 6 or 7 foot tall, pale humanoid. Its arms were disproportionately long and thin. It didn't have any discernible facial features. It peered out from behind the trees and looked directly at us. We were both silent for about 30 seconds, and I finally said, did you see? And my boyfriend says, "Thank God you said something. I thought I was crazy." A few days later, our two friends were hanging out in their car at one of the local park areas, surrounded by woods and cornfields. The fields were recently harvested, so you could see all the way to the tree line. They said they saw something pale and incredibly thin and humanoid across the field. It ran kind of like a dog, and it disappeared into the woods within seconds. At first, I thought it might be something different because I was thinking what I saw was more humanoid. Then, I discovered that thousands of people have reported seeing humanoid, pale, naked, lanky things that move like dogs. There's apparently particularly a lot of sightings in Illinois, so that part adds up as well. Lots of reports from the 50s and 60s of pale humanoids as well. It really makes me wonder. Anyway, I'm now convinced that there's an undiscovered humanoid living in America. We haven't proved they exist because they're so fast and silent. They also hide in abandoned buildings, caves, and mines. At the time, I was working for Animal Planet as a camera operator on their show, Lost Tapes. We were filming in the Pine Barrens for the Jersey Devil episode. There had been a lot of set vandalism, so I had started camping at the set every night to see if I could catch whoever or whatever was doing it. It had been doing it all week, but I had never been able to catch anything. Usually, I would hear weird sounds and stuff being broken, jump up and scramble for the trailer door, only to find the vandal already gone. By the 7th night, the crew and I were fed up, as there was now several $1,000s worth of damage. One of the lifts suggested staking out around set, so we would have a better chance of success. Come that night, I, along with both lifts, the producer, our audio guy, and a makeup artist, were staggered around the set, waiting. I was in the rundown house behind the busted wall, a small, handheld camera in my hand, so I could at least get a picture of the vandal if nobody caught them. Around 2:40 a.m., I started hearing stuff on the roof and began creeping out of my hiding spot. My plan was to climb the broken wall, stick my camera and head through a hole in the ceiling we had made for lighting and effect, and take a picture. Then climb onto the roof to either grab them or scare them towards one of the lifts, who was hiding next to the house. I had just gotten my head through and was raising the camera when I saw it. And it saw me. I didn't even get the chance to scream before it was on me. It bit into my shoulder and I slipped. We both went falling down into the house, where it landed on top of me. The jolt from the fall forced it to let go of my shoulder, but in doing so, it only got angrier. It took a swing at me with its claws, and I rolled to the side, getting my right side slashed. By now, everyone heard the commotion and came running. Our audio guy had the foresight to bring a small handgun, and he drew it. It didn't notice, as it was too focused on me, who by now was beginning to black out from blood loss. From what I was told by a lift, our audio guy shot it twice in a wing, and it got the message, but still wanted a piece of me. It took me in his claws and tried taking off through the roof hole, but couldn't fit, so it dropped me. I fell the 10 feet to the floor, while the audio guy kept firing until he couldn't see it anymore. Nobody wanted to wait for an ambulance, afraid that it might come back. So, a lift slung me over his back, and everyone took off running. They guessed it was still pretty pissed as it followed them, dive bombing both the group and the car as everyone fled. It only stopped when they finally reached the boundaries of the Barrens. I woke up in the hospital a few hours later. By now, the Forest Patrol, police, news reporters, journalists, and a network exec had gathered. Nobody knew what to tell anyone. We all doubted that anyone would believe it if we all cried Jersey Devil, so we just said it was a bear and kept it at that. I came away with a broken neck, 3 bruised and cracked ribs, 2 lacerations on my side, a series of puncture wounds on my shoulder, and a shit ton of PTSD. The on-set shoot was cancelled, and we ended up just renting a campsite in California to film. None of us really talk about it. I think I'm the only one who feels comfortable telling people. We still work for Animal Planet on and off, but tend to avoid the big Lost Tapes poster in the producer's office. I know it seems hard to believe, but it happened, and I still have the scar. I don't remember how old I was. It must have been the early 2000s though. I'm 19 now. I was laying on my belly on my bed, looking toward a dark corner behind my dresser. Suddenly, an impish creature, small, skinny, gray and naked, appeared crouching in the corner. It left as quickly as it came, and I was suddenly on my back looking at the ceiling. Before I discovered that it could have been a creature similar to the rake, I believed that I was abducted by an alien. A week or so later, my sister started getting into creepypastas, and she found one on the rake, and needless to say, I was pretty spooked. I think I've seen evidence of Bigfoot, and I think Thunderbirds still exist. I was backpacking along the Continental Divide of the Rocky Mountains in the 90s, and I was exploring old abandoned mine shafts. Dangerous, I know, but I was young and invincible at the time. One mine shaft had an enormous pile of wild mushroom stems in the corner. Just the stems, no caps, as if someone or something didn't like the stems and just discarded them. The pile was about 3 feet wide and 4 to 4.5 feet tall. I don't know of any animal that lives in the area with the dexterity to pluck thousands of mushroom caps from their stems. Maybe bears. I suppose it could have been humans, but who does that? Most people avoid wild mushrooms unless they're trained in identification, and it was a lot of mushrooms. That's too weird. Bigfoot seems like a much more likely candidate to me. I also think I spotted a Thunderbird years later in the same area. I was driving up to my favorite backpacking trailhead and was passing by a cattle ranch nestled back in a high mountain valley. They had rows and stacks of baled hay for their livestock out in a field near the dirt road I was driving down. The sun was setting, it was a beautiful evening, and I was enjoying the ride when I noticed the silhouette of what looked like a teenager standing on top of the hay bales. If you know anything about farming or ranching, you know standing on top of bales is dangerous. Deer and other wild animals will eat the hay from the bottom, making the integrity of the bales weak. I was pulling over to yell at this dumb kid when this kid opened up a huge set of wings and flew off over the mountains and into the sunset. I know eagles can be pretty big, but this bird was so big that I thought it was the silhouette of an almost fully grown human, until I saw the wings. And that wingspan was like a hang glider. I shit you not, my experience was exactly like the movie The Fourth Kind. I started seeing an owl at night when I was little, and I was terrified of it. I just knew that it was coming to get me. Over the years after that, I started having visions and dreams about being abducted and being in a white room with horrifying things happening to me. I remember this extremely bright white room and my body being translucent with a caterpillar worm type creature crawling through my eyes. There were also multiple times where I was able to see inside my own body, and I remember being poked with this weird needle thing that I remember feeling so vividly as being the most uncomfortable, cringy, painful thing that I've ever experienced to this day. It was almost an inhuman type of uncomfortable. All these dreams always happened after seeing the owl at my window, in which I was 100% sure I wasn't dreaming when I saw the owl.